we're here on the KG plot, and even we get a few weeds, as you'll see. But I'm going to try and convince you that that's a good thing. I know mostly when you think of weeds, you get a bit stressed out and you think, oh my goodness, got to get out there, pull those up, get rid of them. And largely that is true if they're growing amongst your crops. But it doesn't actually hurt to have a few around, and I hope to show you why. For example, we've got some chickweed here. Now this is actually edible. So if you sow some lettuces and then found that they weren't coming up, but you had some chickweed on the plot, you could actually use this as a salad. And there's quite a lot of different weeds that you can eat that are edible. Of course, that comes with a word of warning. If you're not exactly sure what the weed is, what the plant is that you're looking at, or if it's edible, don't try it. But if you're confident, and chickweed's a good one because everybody knows that, then go ahead and give them a try. But perhaps more than as food, because I must admit I don't eat too many weeds, they are useful for other things as well. And one of the most useful weeds, I think, is nettles. Now they can be a real nuisance, a real pain really, literally, but a real nuisance, and they do tend to spring up and take over everywhere if you're not careful. But the odd weed, the odd patch of them is actually quite a good thing. Why? Well, firstly, they'll actually harbour, they actually act as food for a lot of useful insects, and butterflies is one of them. Peacock butterflies love nettles, and there are several other species that like them too. They act as cover for things like frogs and newts, that sort of thing. And of course they'll come out during the night and eat the pests on your plot, so it's quite good to have a few around. You can actually eat nettles, of course. You can make nettle soup from the tips, the nice fresh tips, especially in the spring. So not a bad weed to have around, providing of course that you keep it in check, and don't let it run wild. But yeah, lots of different things. You can even make fertiliser out of nettles, of course. If you were to get a 2-gallon bucket, let's say, of just a 2-gallon bucket, and fill it with the nettle tops, especially the nice young nettle tops, top that up with water so that they're all covered, and just leave it for a couple of weeks, then you've got yourself a really good fertiliser. It's got plenty of nitrogen, phosphate, potash in it, which you can dilute 1 in 10 with water and then water that onto your crops, so you've got a free liquid feed. Of course you can put them in the compost, and that goes for any weeds that you've got. Don't think of them as a nuisance so much as free plant food. Put them in your compost bin. 3 or 4 months later you've got yourself a nice rich compost to put back on. The key with them is really, as I say, to keep them in check. Don't let them seed, especially the annual weeds like the chickweed, because they can produce thousands of seeds every year. So you need to keep them in check. But yeah, basically don't get stressed out by your weeds, but keep a patch out of the way, perhaps away from your crops, and just let it go and let nature take its course, and you've got yourself quite a useful set of plants.